The night feels heavy and close. The jungle does not sleep. It breathes. It whispers. Somewhere beyond the dark trees, the sea moves slowly, as if watching. On a narrow strip of land, tired men lie low in shallow holes. Their uniforms are damp. Their hands shake, not from cold, but from waiting. They do not fully know where they are yet. They only know they must hold this place. An airfield stretches out in front of them. It is rough. It is unfinished. Dirt and broken ground. But to these men, it feels like the center of the world. If they lose it, they may never leave this island alive. A distant sound rolls in from the sea, low, deep, not thunder, not wind. The sound grows louder. Then it stops. Silence returns, thicker than before. Every man holds his breath. Someone whispers a name for the first time. Guadalcanal. The men here are far from home. Many have never seen combat before. They came expecting a quick landing, a short fight, then rest. That promise feels like a lie now. The jungle presses in from all sides. It hides movement. It hides fear. It hides the enemy. Across the island, unseen eyes are also watching. Japanese soldiers move quietly through the trees. They know this land better. They have waited for this moment. To them, this island is not just ground. It is honor. It is duty. It is a line that must not break. At sea, ships drift in darkness. Commanders study maps under dim lights. They argue in low voices. Some want to pull back. Some want to push forward. No one feels sure. The ocean here is wide and cruel. Supplies are thin. Time feels like an enemy. Above the island, the sky remains calm. Too calm. Pilots know this silence will not last. When the sun rises, everything will change. The airfield will become a target. The men on the ground will become shadows under open sky. Fear settles in slowly. Not panic, not screaming. Just a quiet understanding. This is not a normal battle. There are no clear lines, no safe rear. The enemy can come at night, from the trees, from the sea, from the air. A Marine tightens his grip on his rifle. He thinks of home, of voices he may never hear again. He wonders if anyone even knows where he is. He wonders if this island will remember his name. Nearby, a Japanese soldier pauses in the dark. He listens to the same jungle sounds. He feels the same weight in his chest. He has been told this war must be won quickly. That doubt is weakness. Yet here, in the silence, doubt feels impossible to escape. Both sides wait. Both sides believe they must not fail. This island does not care who wins. It only waits. Guadalcanal is small. On maps, it looks unimportant. Just another green shape in a blue sea. But tonight, it holds the future of the Pacific War in its soil. Neither side fully understands that yet. They only feel the pressure, the sense that something big has begun, and it cannot be stopped. The men do not talk much now. Words feel heavy. Every sound feels loud. Boots press into wet earth. Mosquitoes buzz. Sweat drips into tired eyes. The jungle watches without mercy. Somewhere far away, decisions are being made by men who will never step onto this ground. But here, on Guadalcanal, the war will be decided by hunger, fear, and endurance. By who can wait longer, who can suffer more, who can hold on when hope runs thin. The night stretches on. The first shots have not yet come, but everyone knows they will. and when they do, this island will never be the same again. This island mattered because the war had reached a breaking point. For months, the Japanese Empire had moved fast across the Pacific. Island after island fell. Ports, airfields, and sea routes slipped out of Allied control. Many in Japan believed this path could not be stopped. The enemy seemed weak, slow, unready. But Guadalcanal stood in the way of something much bigger. From this island, aircraft could reach far across the sea. They could watch the waters between America and Australia. They could strike ships carrying troops, food, and fuel. If Japan controlled this airfield, Australia would feel cut off, isolated, alone. The Pacific would tilt further toward Japanese power. For the United States, this was unbearable. After early defeats, America needed a place to stand, not just to defend, but to move forward. Guadalcanal offered that chance. It was the first step back into a war that had felt out of control. A chance to show that retreat was over. But this was not just about land or runways. It was about belief. If the United States failed here, the message would be clear. The enemy was too strong. The cost of fighting back was too high. Allies would doubt. Enemies would grow bolder. The war would stretch longer, darker, and more dangerous. Japan saw the same island through a different lens. Guadalcanal was proof of momentum, a shield for their expanding border. Losing it would mean something they had not faced yet. Retreat. And retreat, in their thinking, was a crack in the idea of victory. Japanese leaders believed that if they could crush this landing fast, the Americans would hesitate again. They believed the enemy lacked the will for long fights. That fear and loss would send them back across the ocean. Both sides believed time was critical. Every day the airfield stayed active helped the Americans. Every night the Japanese struck back. They hoped to erase that advantage. The battle became a race measured not in miles, but in exhaustion. This island also mattered because it forced a new kind of war. There were no great cities here, no factories, no crowds cheering behind the lines. Just jungle, heat, rain, and silence. Supplies had to cross open sea. Wounded men had to be moved by hand. Decisions made far away arrived too late to save lives. Guadalcanal stripped war down to its core. Who could feed their men longer? Who could move ships under threat? Who could keep fighting when plans failed? For American commanders, this battle carried enormous pressure. They were stepping into unknown ground. Their forces were still learning how to fight together. Army, Navy, Marines, air crews, all depended on each other, yet often struggled to communicate. A failure here would not just cost lives. It would shake confidence at every level. For Japanese commanders, the pressure was different, but just as heavy. Their earlier success had built expectations. They were expected to win. Quickly, cleanly. To admit difficulty was to admit weakness. Guadalcanal did not allow easy victories. The jungle swallowed sound. The sea swallowed ships. The sky turned deadly without warning. Each side discovered that courage alone was not enough. The island became a test of planning, a test of patience, a test of how long men could endure fear without breaking. This is why Guadalcanal mattered so deeply, not because of its size, not because of its beauty, but because it forced two powerful nations to confront reality. Here, the war stopped being about fast moves and bold promises. It became about survival and stubborn will, about holding ground even when it felt pointless, about fighting not for glory, but because there was no other choice. When the first boots touched this island, neither side fully understood what they were stepping into. But as days turned into weeks, one truth became clear. Whoever endured Guadalcanal would shape the future of the Pacific, and whoever broke here would never fight the same way again. The island waited as both sides moved closer, carrying hopes, fears, and fatal assumptions with them. Before the first landing, before the first shot, the world beyond this island was already tense and stretched thin. Japan stood tall after a series of fast victories. Its leaders believed speed was their greatest weapon. Strike hard. Strike fast. Break the enemy's will before strength could grow. That belief shaped every plan. It left little room for doubt. Many Japanese officers truly believed the war could be decided in months. They believed America would not accept heavy losses, that its people would tire, that distance and fear would do the work of weapons. This confidence came from success, and success can be dangerous. Ships had sailed far from home. Supply lines stretched across open ocean. Fuel, food, and planes all had to move through narrow paths. These paths looked strong on maps. In reality, they were fragile. One break could cause hunger. One delay could change a battle. But confidence often hides weakness. On the other side of the ocean, the United States was still learning how to fight this war. Pearl Harbor had shocked the nation. It had shaken trust. It had created anger, but also fear. The Pacific felt huge. The enemy felt everywhere. American forces were not yet polished. Many units had trained more than they had fought. Commanders studied reports instead of experience. Plans were written with hope as much as knowledge. Yet pressure was building. Allies were watching closely. Australia feared isolation. Britain was tied down elsewhere. If America did not act, the Pacific might slip away piece by piece. That pressure led to a bold choice. Attack first. Hold ground. Prove that the enemy could be stopped. Guadalcanal was not chosen because it was easy. It was chosen because it was necessary. Still, both sides carried dangerous assumptions into this fight. American leaders believed the enemy presence on the island was weak. That resistance would be light. That once the airfield was taken, the rest would follow. They believed control of the sky would solve most problems. Japanese leaders believed the American landing would be reckless, that the enemy would overreach, that quick counterattacks would crush them before they could dig in. They trusted night attacks and naval power to undo the invasion. Both sides underestimated the island itself. The jungle was thick and unforgiving. Heat drained strength. Rain turned paths into traps. Insects spread sickness quietly and constantly. Machines failed. Men weakened. The land did not care about strategy. As plans were made in distant rooms, men prepared in silence. American Marines cleaned weapons on ship decks. Some joked. Some stared at the horizon. Many hid their fear behind routine. They were told the mission mattered. They were told victory was possible. Few were told how hard it would be. Japanese soldiers prepared with discipline and resolve. They trusted their training. They trusted their commanders. Many believed retreat was unthinkable. To fall back was to fail. This difference in belief would shape the months to come. Time became the unseen enemy. Every delay hurt one side and helped the other. Every lost ship changed balance. Every missed supply run made the next decision harder. The war here would not be decided in hours or days, but in long nights and slow mornings. Guadalcanal sat quietly as these forces moved toward it. It had no defenses of its own, no warning. It simply waited. When the first landing came, it was not the end of preparation. It was the end of illusion. Both sides were about to learn that this war would not reward confidence alone. It would punish mistakes. It would demand patience. And it would test how much suffering leaders were willing to accept before admitting the truth. As ships closed in and engines hummed, the air grew heavy with expectation. No one knew how long this fight would last. Only that once it began, there would be no easy way out. The island had already begun to shape the war, and the battle had not even truly started yet. Across the ocean, far from the jungle heat, decisions were being made in quiet rooms. Maps lay flat on tables. Pins marked islands that most men had never seen. Lines showed supply routes that looked clean and simple. In reality, they crossed dangerous waters filled with uncertainty. The men making these decisions carried heavy weight. Their choices would shape lives they would never meet. On the American side, commanders felt the pressure of expectation. They knew this was the first major step forward in the Pacific. Failure would not be forgiven easily. Success, if it came, would come slowly. Some of these leaders were cautious. They understood how little they truly knew. They worried about supply lines, about communication, about how their forces would react under real pressure. Others felt the pull of urgency. They believed hesitation was more dangerous than risk. The enemy was strong now, but growing stronger each day. Waiting felt like surrender. These differences created quiet tension. Orders were written carefully. Words were chosen to sound confident, even when confidence was thin. No one wanted to be the voice that slowed the advance. No one wanted to admit fear. Among the Marines, leadership felt closer. Officers walked among their men. They shared the same heat, the same insects, the same lack of sleep. Authority was real, but so was shared hardship. Many young officers carried doubt they could not show. They had trained for this, studied tactics, memorized plans. But training had never included weeks of hunger or nights without rest. They wondered how their men would react when fear became constant. On the Japanese side, command culture was different, but no less intense. Japanese naval leaders still believed strongly in decisive blows. One powerful strike, one crushing moment. That belief had brought success before. It was built into their thinking, into their pride. Admitting uncertainty was difficult. Orders often assumed perfect timing, perfect coordination, perfect courage. These expectations left little room for surprise or delay. When reality pushed back, adjusting became painful. Japanese ground commanders faced their own challenges. They were expected to act boldly, even when supplies were thin. Retreat was not just a tactical choice, it was a moral weight. One that pressed heavily on every decision. Many believed endurance itself was a weapon. Among pilots, confidence mixed with strain. They flew long distances over open sea. Fuel was precious. Every flight carried risk. They knew control of the sky mattered, yet they also felt how fragile that control could be. One mistake could leave a plane lost forever. Both sides struggled with information. Reports arrived late. Messages were unclear. Radios failed. What commanders believed was happening often lagged behind reality by days, sometimes longer. This gap between belief and truth shaped the battle. A commander might order an attack, believing the enemy was weak, when in fact they were reinforced. Another might delay action thinking forces were exhausted when they were ready. These were not foolish mistakes. They were human ones. Stress clouded judgment. Fatigue narrowed focus. Pride resisted change. As the days passed, leaders on both sides faced quiet moments of doubt, moments they could not share. American commanders questioned whether they had underestimated the enemy's resolve. Japanese commanders questioned whether speed alone could still bring victory. Yet orders continued. Ships moved. Planes flew. Men marched into jungle paths that swallowed sound and direction. The island allowed little control. Night battles at sea confused even experienced officers. Darkness erased distance. Flashes appeared and vanished. Ships fired without clear targets. Decisions were made in seconds, then judged for years. Some commanders learned quickly. They adapted. They listened to reports from the ground. They accepted losses as signals, not failures. Others struggled. They clung to plans that no longer fit. They trusted doctrine over observation. They hoped courage would overcome shortage. Neither side held all the answers. As weeks turned into months, leadership became less about bold moves and more about endurance, about choosing where to spend strength, about knowing when to push and when to wait. Every decision carried cost. Send supplies now and risk ships at sea, or wait and let men weaken. Attack tonight and risk confusion, or wait and risk losing ground. Hold position and suffer, or pull back and lose momentum. These choices weighed heavily. Some commanders aged quickly. Faces grew lined. Voices grew quiet. Sleep became rare. Victory no longer looked like celebration. It looked like survival. At the same time, small acts of leadership mattered deeply. An officer sharing food, a commander admitting a mistake, a pilot turning back to protect others. These moments did not appear on maps, but they shaped morale. They kept units together when logic said they should fall apart. The minds directing this battle were not cold machines. They were human, pressured, limited, learning in real time. Guadalcanal forced them to confront their own assumptions. Speed did not always win. Strength did not guarantee control. And courage, while vital, could not replace preparation. As the island consumed attention and resources, leaders on both sides began to sense a shift. This was not a battle that could be ended with one strike, or one clever plan. It was becoming something else, a slow contest of will. And soon, the clash between plans and reality would grow louder, more chaotic, more costly. The moment of ignition was approaching. When it came, there would be no space left for doubt. The first clash does not arrive like a clean moment. It arrives in pieces. Engines roar over the sea. Boats cut through water in long lines. Men grip the sides and stare forward. Some feel excitement. Others feel nothing at all. The shoreline grows closer, dark green and silent. No welcome, no warning. When boots touch land, there is surprise, not resistance, not chaos, just quiet. For a moment, it feels wrong. The Marines move inland carefully, weapons ready, eyes scanning the trees. They expect fire. They expect movement. Instead, the jungle watches back in silence. This silence creates its own fear. It feels like a held breath. The airfield appears almost by accident, a long strip of rough ground. tools left behind, half-built positions. The enemy has not finished its work. The Americans realize they have arrived in time. Barely. The airfield is taken quickly. Too quickly. This speed creates confidence. Some believe the hardest part is over, that the enemy has been surprised and broken, that control of the island will come next. But the island does not agree. Within days, the rhythm changes. Japanese aircraft appear in the sky. Fast. Sudden. Bombs fall near the airfield. Men scatter. Planes on the ground are damaged. Supplies are hit. The message is clear. The enemy is awake. At sea, danger grows faster. American ships unload men and equipment under constant threat. Commanders fear losing their ships more than holding the shore. They face a terrible choice. Stay and protect the landing, or pull back and save the fleet. Some ships leave early. On land, Marines watch the horizon as their support fades away. The feeling is sharp and unsettling. They are now truly alone. The Japanese respond with speed and determination. Warships move at night. Fast runs down narrow waters. Supplies are rushed in under darkness. Troops land quietly, often unseen. They vanish into the jungle by morning. The Americans call these runs a name filled with tension. The name does not matter as much as the feeling. The enemy is close, always moving, always returning. The first ground attacks come at night. Shapes move between trees. Sounds are confusing. Voices echo. Gunfire flashes briefly, then disappears. Fear multiplies in the dark. Men fire at shadows. Orders are hard to hear. Time loses meaning. Some attacks are fierce but short. Others drag on until dawn. The jungle hides friend and enemy alike. Confusion becomes constant. By day, the airfield becomes the center of everything. Planes rise and fall from the rough ground. Every flight matters. Pilots take off knowing the runway may not be there when they return. Each landing is a risk. Each repair feels rushed. Control of the sky shifts back and forth. No one holds it for long. At sea, battles explode without warning. Ships meet in darkness. Guns fire at close range. Commanders struggle to understand what is happening. Signals fail. Smoke and flashes confuse direction. Some ships are hit and vanish into night. Others withdraw, unsure if they have won or lost. These fights do not feel like victories. They feel like survival. Back on land, the Marines dig in. Shallow holes, makeshift positions. Food grows scarce. Heat drains strength. Sickness spreads quietly. Men lose weight. Faces grow hollow. Japanese soldiers push through jungle trails with discipline and resolve. They attack in waves that test endurance more than strength. They believe pressure will break the enemy. That fear will do what weapons cannot. Sometimes it almost works. There are moments when American lines bend, when ammunition runs low, when exhaustion makes movement slow. Officers shout. Runners carry messages through fire and darkness. Small groups hold ground, not because of orders, but because there is nowhere else to go. In these moments, war becomes personal. A Marine hears footsteps and tightens his grip. A Japanese soldier waits for a signal that may never come. Both wonder if dawn will arrive in time. As days pass, early confidence fades on both sides. The Americans realize the island cannot be secured quickly. Every gain is challenged. Every night brings new threats. Holding the airfield is not enough. They must hold everything around it, all the time. The Japanese realize the enemy is stronger than expected, not easily shaken, willing to endure losses and return fire. The hope of a quick removal fades. Plans collide with reality. Attacks that should succeed stall. Bombardments that should clear paths fail to break resolve. Jungle paths that seem open on maps turn into dead ends. The battle spreads across land, sea, and air, all at once. No single commander controls it fully. No single victory settles it. What began as a landing becomes a struggle measured in nights without sleep, in meals skipped, in decisions made with incomplete truth. Guadalcanal stops being a place on a map. It becomes a test. And as the fighting grinds on, both sides begin to sense that the outcome will not be decided by force alone. It will be decided by choices made under pressure, the kind of choices that change everything. As the struggle deepens, the battle begins to turn on moments so small they almost disappear in the noise. A delayed order, a ship that turns back too soon, a commander who waits instead of striking. These moments do not feel important at the time, but later they shape everything. One of the first turning points comes quietly. Supplies do not arrive when expected. Food runs low. Ammunition is counted carefully. Each box becomes precious. Commanders must decide who receives what and when. Every choice creates risk somewhere else. American leaders face a painful truth. They cannot protect everything. The sea is too dangerous. Ships are too valuable. Some must stay back. That decision saves ships, but it leaves men on the island exposed. The Marines feel this immediately. They learn to stretch meals, to repair weapons with scraps, to reuse what should be thrown away. Hunger becomes part of daily life. Not sharp hunger, but a constant weakness that never leaves. Japanese commanders make their own critical choices. They believe pressure will eventually break the enemy. They commit more troops to night attacks. They believe surprise and discipline will overcome shortages. They push men forward even when food is scarce and strength is fading. This decision keeps the fight alive, but it also drains their forces slowly. Another turning point comes at sea. Night after night, ships race toward the island. Some succeed. Some do not return. Each loss is felt deeply, not just in numbers, but in confidence. Commanders begin to hesitate. Is the risk worth the gain? Can they afford another loss? Hesitation changes timing. A supply run delayed by one night means hungry men wait longer. A planned attack postponed gives the enemy time to prepare. The rhythm of the battle shifts. In the air, similar choices unfold. Pilots must decide whether to push damaged planes back into the sky. Some do. Some refuse. Every flight risks losing both machine and man. But every flight also keeps the enemy guessing. Control of the air becomes fragile. No side holds it fully. It flickers. One day strong, the next uncertain. On land, commanders face moments where retreat seems logical. Lines stretch thin. Men are exhausted. The jungle hides enemy movement. Pulling back could save lives, but it could also signal weakness. Some officers choose to hold. They dig in deeper. They spread men thin. They trust that holding ground will bring long-term advantage. These decisions cost dearly in the short term, but they also deny the enemy momentum. Japanese ground leaders face similar choices, but with harsher limits. They are expected to attack, to press forward. Waiting feels like failure. Retreat feels worse. Even when attacks fail, pressure from above demands another attempt. Some commanders follow orders without question. Others quietly adjust. They attack less directly. They probe. They test. These adjustments save lives, but they also slow progress. Chance plays its role as well. Weather disrupts plans. Rain floods positions. Mud slows movement. Visibility disappears. A storm can cancel an attack or protect a landing. Nature becomes an unplanned commander. In one moment, a ship survives because fog hides it. In another, a unit is lost because rain delays support. These are not choices, but leaders must react to them. One of the most critical shifts comes when both sides begin to realize the same truth. This battle will not end soon. That realization changes everything. For the Americans, it means commitment. More resources, more coordination. They begin to improve how the Army, Navy, and air units work together. Mistakes are studied quickly. Lessons are applied fast. For the Japanese, it brings a painful question. How much can they afford to lose here? Resources are limited. Other fronts demand attention. Guadalcanal begins to feel like a trap. Yet pride and belief make withdrawal difficult. Some leaders argue for pulling back. Others insist on pressing harder. These debates slow decision-making. Delay replaces speed. Doubt creeps in. Meanwhile, men on the ground feel none of these debates. They feel only the effects. An attack that never comes. Supplies that arrive too late. Orders that change suddenly. They adapt as best they can. Small unit leaders become crucial. Sergeants, junior officers, men who make decisions in moments, not hours. Their choices save positions. Their mistakes cost ground. A patrol chooses a safer route and avoids disaster. Another pushes forward and walks into danger. These moments do not appear in official reports, but they decide survival. Gradually, the shape of the battle changes. Japanese attacks grow less frequent, still fierce, but fewer. The energy that once drove constant pressure begins to fade. Hunger and sickness take their toll. Reinforcements arrive thinner than expected. American positions grow stronger, not comfortable, not secure, but organized. Defenses deepen. Coordination improves. Confidence grows slowly, carefully. The turning point is not one great victory. It is a series of small realizations. That endurance matters more than speed. That holding ground is sometimes more powerful than taking it. That war is not won by bold plans alone, but by the ability to adapt. As these truths settle in, the balance begins to shift. Not suddenly, not clearly, but steadily. The island begins to favor those who can wait, those who can accept hardship without breaking, those who can change when change is required. Guadalcanal is teaching its final lesson. The side that understands it first will shape what comes next. And the cost of learning it is already written across exhausted faces, empty supply crates, and quiet nights that no longer promise surprise, but slow, grinding survival. The battle has not ended, but its direction is becoming clear. The price of this struggle is not counted only in ground gained or lost. It is carried in bodies that grow weaker each day. Men wake already tired. Sleep comes in short pieces, broken by sound and fear. The jungle never fully rests. Insects hum. Rain falls without warning. Heat presses down, even when the sun is gone. Food becomes a memory. Rations shrink. Meals are rushed and quiet. Hunger is no longer sharp. It is dull and constant. It slows movement. It clouds thought. Men begin to measure time by the next chance to eat, not by hours. Sickness spreads silently. Fever weakens strong bodies. Skin burns. Joints ache. Some men try to hide it, afraid of leaving their unit. Others collapse without warning. Medical help is limited. Supplies are few. Doctors and medics work without pause, making hard choices about who can be helped. Fear changes shape. At first, it comes during attacks, loud and fast. Later, it settles into something quieter. A fear of the night, a fear of silence, a fear that tomorrow will feel exactly the same, only harder. Both sides feel this weight. American Marines dig deeper. They learn the jungle's sounds. Which noise means nothing. Which means danger. They joke when they can. Humor becomes a shield, a way to stay human. Japanese soldiers endure with discipline and resolve. They push forward, even as strength fades. Many believe giving up is worse than death. This belief carries them through hunger and sickness, but it also traps them in impossible positions. There are moments of shared humanity, though they remain unseen. A soldier pauses instead of firing, unsure. Another listens to enemy voices at night and hears fear, not hatred. Both realize the man across the line feels the same exhaustion. The island takes everyone equally. No side escapes the rain. No side escapes hunger. No side escapes loss. Letters from home stop arriving regularly. News feels distant. The world beyond the island seems unreal. For many, Guadalcanal becomes the only reality that matters. Yet, even here, small acts matter. A Marine shares the last bite of food. A Japanese soldier helps a wounded comrade move through the jungle. A medic stays awake long past exhaustion to save one more life. These moments do not change the battle's direction, but they keep men going. As weeks turn into months, the meaning of victory changes. It is no longer about pushing forward. It is about holding on. Slowly, quietly, the balance shifts. Japanese attacks grow weaker, less frequent. Still determined, but lacking strength. Supplies fail to keep pace. Reinforcements arrive too late or not at all. Commanders face a truth they can no longer ignore. Holding the island is draining the entire war effort. For the Americans, the cost remains high, but support improves. Supplies arrive more regularly. Coordination grows stronger. The airfield stays active. The sense of isolation begins to lift. The moment of decision does not come with celebration. It comes with acceptance. Japanese leaders decide to pull back, not because of defeat in one great battle, but because endurance has reached its limit. The island has taken too much. The withdrawal is quiet, careful, painful. Men who survived months of hardship leave behind those who did not. They carry shame, sorrow, and relief together. Guadalcanal does not feel like a loss of courage. It feels like the end of a long trial. When the fighting finally fades, there is no cheer. American Marines stand on ground they paid dearly to hold. They are thinner, older, changed. Victory feels heavy, not bright. They have learned what this war truly demands. Beyond the island, the impact spreads. The Pacific War has shifted. The idea of quick victory is gone. Strategy changes. Planning deepens. Endurance becomes central. Guadalcanal becomes a lesson written in suffering rather than words. For Japan, the war turns inward. Expansion gives way to defense. Confidence gives way to caution. The belief in unstoppable momentum is broken. For the United States, something hard but powerful takes its place. Belief. Belief that the enemy can be stopped. Belief that sacrifice has meaning. Belief that this war, however long, can be endured. Guadalcanal does not promise peace. It does not end the war, but it changes how the war is fought. It reminds the world that power has limits, that courage alone is not enough, that war belongs not to the boldest plan, but to those who can adapt, endure, and learn. Long after the guns fall silent, the island remains. Quiet again. Green again. Patient. It keeps the memory of those who waited in the dark, who fought hunger and fear, who learned on a small piece of land that history often turns not in moments of glory, but in long nights of survival.